We have an election of the bishop, and the 12th bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Utah shall be, once ordained and consecrated on September 17th, the Reverend Phyllis Spiegel.
Greetings, Diocese of Utah. It is incredible to be addressing you as your bishop-elect, and I need you to know what an incredible honor you have bestowed upon me, that we are going to live out together, and I am beyond excited.
An enthusiastic priest from the greater Cincinnati area had captured the votes and the hearts of the convention delegates. A new bishop-elect and a new chapter in the 155th year of the Episcopal Church in Utah.
I was thinking about that the other day on a walk, and as I began to read Bishop Tuttle's book, to find myself in the line of ministry that began with coming out much different modes of transportation than I had coming in my car as I drove forth from my home place in Virginia. I was struck with this feeling of both humility in the sense of standing in the place of doing ministry where such great ministry has been done before, but also with the excitement that God is always working so far out in front of us. And the fact that God has called me to this place and to be in ministry with the people who are already doing such great ministry here, I am without doubt. It just encompasses every part of my being, the rightness and the sureness of this time for us to join together. So between what has been and what will be, I think I'm filled with the most incredible excitement I have ever felt in ministry.
The bishop search had been a long process. The pandemic delayed the search for almost a full year. However, the delay did not diminish interest when it came to the Reverend Phyllis Spiegel. The diocesan profile showed her that Utah was what she had prayed for. She saw that we were a diocese of outreach and building bridges. We also knew the modern church had a lot to work on, hard issues. For example, systemic racism and white privilege were now top-of-mind topics. She addressed those in the meet and greets in early April of 2022.
I spent COVID doggedly digging into it. I've read more books than you can possibly imagine because everyone teaches me something different about either my white privilege or the perspective of someone who does not have white skin, and I need to hear it all, because I go with me wherever I go, and I am now aware of a small portion of what I affect when I walk in the door and what I bring with me. So, the gift that we have in the Episcopal Church is that we have tools for talking about white privilege in a way that I myself have gone through.
She addressed inclusiveness in her sermons in Ohio.
Every person, regardless of creed, color, gender, sexuality, education level, income level, and every other dividing line we can throw at it, every person must be lifted to the healing, the wholeness, and the dignity that Jesus has for each one of us in his heart.
And it's continuing to reach out to all in the community, many who are of other faiths or no faith tradition.
Often when we think about reaching those who have not felt welcome and comfortable, we think of being outside the walls, as well we should, especially when there are so many people, generations now, a couple generations of people who feel alienated from what we would call organized religion. And we have a lot of work to do in bridging the gap between who we are perceived to be and who we are in people's minds, so that people who have need of a longing beyond even what they know for a relationship with the God who created them. It's our job to do the work to find the pathways, to forge the gaps that will help people find their way back to a growing relationship with God. Not simply, oh, I believe in God, but church I don't like, but rather to see, wait, the church is at work in the world doing God's work. So we know that as being our work of bridging the gap. Let's go.
And as we bridge the gap in learning about our new bishop, we can't go too far without seeing her on a trail. And actually not alone. You will no doubt also meet Samson, her dog.
One morning during the lockdown, I woke up with the knowledge I'm supposed to get a dog. And that was the day that he was brought to the shelter. And I busted him out after only less than 48 hours, so he was not destined to be a shelter dog. He's much bigger at 90 pounds than I was expecting. I was thinking, 40 would be nice, but he came fully trained, mostly sit, right.
It's where she often does her praying, her thinking, and experiences God's nature.
My mind runs quite fast most of the time, and I find that consistently the way that I can get it to be still and to listen is to be in the midst of nature. And the more isolated the trail, the better, but the process of walking allows for a different and deeper type of thinking and praying for me. I'm an observer of nature, but yes, I see birds a lot. And now there's all sorts of apps you can get on your phone, and my favorite is Merlin. So I'll stop along the trail and just turn on the app, and it'll pick up all the bird song around me. And that's another way of making me stop being so internal and focus on just listening and being to all that's around me. And it's amazing what we walk by and don't even know we're passing.
We know at least one sermon that started in nature.
As it is written in the prophet Isaiah, "See, I am sending the messenger out ahead of you who will prepare your way. The voice of one crying out in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight." I certainly hope that when I make visitations, that the visitations will be expansive from Sunday mornings, that I'll let people know where I'm going to be, and if they want to join me, we'll be meeting up at such and such a time, and come along, and that'll be the start. That's how I envision making the visitations, because I also want to learn the area from the people who live there. That's the best way to travel, best way to go any place new. It's the best way to find a new restaurant. It's the best way to find a new trail. So it'll be fun.
Oh, but speaking of food, we have discovered our new bishop has a passion for the kind of fresh food that is straight off the farm.
Oh, I just love beets. So you're a local farm?
Yeah, I'm mostly.
Now it's hard to keep up with her as she explores new opportunities for farmers markets that can be found throughout the diocese.
So, do you want to start off with our hottest one, or do you want to start?
Oh, I should probably start in the middle and then move up and see, yeah.
She is delighted to see that there is so much to offer just in the space of a city park in such a large diocesan area.
Cream cheese with pear jam, so
You do the pear jam first. Wow.
I was delighted that she kindly saw that gelato is one of those offerings.
And this is for our cameraman.
Thanks. Yes, whether it's in the park, in the woods, in nature, or in our churches, most importantly, we know there is such a foundation of love for the people of the diocese in our church, in our outreach, or maybe for the next person to walk through our doors.
Probably didn't expect me to break into song, but that's another thing people should know about me is I will break into song. But my godmother taught our Sunday school class, "I am an Episcopal, Protestant and Episcopal, so shall I be till I die." And so that's my foundation. And I often say I couldn't be ordained in just any church. I need to be in a church that welcomes all deeply. And so that's my foundation of being loved dearly, of the baptismal covenant that people made with me at my baptism, they carried through on. And it has formed me to the person that I am.
It is that foundation that called her to take a lap around the giant diocese to pray and chat with people from each of our congregations. Not in formal visits, she will do that during her episcopate, but in yards and under the trees of our churches, informally in the shadows of the church buildings, such as here on the far east side of the diocese in Vernal, and with Samson at her feet, to know faces she will remember at the consecration.
I'll be able to go back through and just think about people and remember the stories of the churches, and it's changing me already. I won't arrive at the day in the same way as I would have if I had just walked in and then started forming relationships.
Yes, gathering stories at our nearly 24 churches, such as at the historic St. Elizabeth's in White Rocks.
Knowing people is really important to me. People's stories are really important to me, so that I can walk down that aisle at the consecration with all of your stories in my heart.
It is the people, the churches, the opportunities, and because it's Utah and northern Arizona, it's the lands that the Lord has blessed.
There's so much to explore in Utah. Oh my goodness. I feel like, as a hiker and a naturalist, an outdoors person, I feel like I have been, given my this side of heaven glimpse, right? I have been placed in a location where my soul will be fed with the beauty of the land. Again, blessing upon blessing upon blessing. I wasn't called here randomly or because any diocese was doing. I was called here.
And we are blessed. Welcome.